2, 2, 1, 2. Yep. Gout Kaudachit, Johan. Gout Kaudachit. Tuhaka Kewa Hasani Cook Akon. Atlain Gunil Cheese away. Yahakani Yan. Wushkitan. Yahachunki Hasu. Yachtetan Katli Nadi. Wasahatu Yake Wushkadahutu da Adi Yayani Kokayayaki. Ye awe hatu Yake. A Kokaya. We cook da cook cutlets equal cook. Yes, aya. A couch a hit away. Ya a keek. Gonna cheese. Stick at you han. Yak aya yaksatini yak. Yak echa. Gonna cheese, everyone. Thank you for joining us. It has dawned on us again on the land of the Akquan people. We're very thankful to our tribal hosts that we may work on their land, that we may gather on their land. We're thankful that this stamp will be coming out today. We don't really have a word for stamp, so I thought kuk is a membrane, or paper, or a book. Kuk daka kuku is an envelope, which is the paper around the paper. So then I thought maybe a stamp could be kuk daka kuku kashetsi kuk. So just remember that. It's a paper around the paper, sticky paper. My name is Rene Lance Twitchell. I'm an author, a teacher, an artist, and I'm very honored to be asked to MC this event here in front of the Sealaska Heritage Institute, Walter Soboleff Center. It's a wonderful day to be gathering, and it's a wonderful day to safely gather here outdoors where the sun shines at least 30 days a year in Juneau. We have a program that we hope will be entertaining and educational for you here today. To get things started, please rise for the national anthem performed by Marlene Soboleff Levy, the General Counsel for the Tlingit and Haida Indian Tribes. Please remain standing for the presentation of colors by the Southeast Alaska Native Veterans Color Guard.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the
Nishish. Kadakhe kashake. Ade shi. That was wonderful the way that you sang. Benishish to the Southeast Native Veterans Color Guard. Everyone please be seated if you haven't already. Now I'm delighted to present two guest speakers with special greetings with you this morning. Marlene Johnson, Chairwoman of the Sealaska Heritage Institute Board of Trustees, and the Honorable Beth Weldon, the Mayor of the City and Borough of Juneau.
First of all, I have to say how proud I feel that our art, which dates back thousands of years, has been brought to a national stage in this way. I'm going to let you see me. At Sealaska Heritage Institute, our goal is to make our homeland the Northwest Coast art capital of the world and to designate our art a national treasure. The artist has done us proud with his depiction of our ancient raven origin story, which is now on display before the world. I want to talk a little bit about the raven to give you an understanding of his true self, and I'd like to cite a passage from our Baby Raven Reads book series. Raven, the trickster, is found in oral tradition throughout North America and elsewhere in the world. Among many Native Americans, the trickster takes the form of a coyote or raven. Among Alaska's indigenous population, he is raven. Among the Tlingit, Haida, and Tsimshian of Southeast Alaska, he is especially prominent as segments of these societies identify themselves as ravens. These ravens individuals recognize the affinity with the natural raven. The non-raven natives joke about Raven and his antics as if the raven individuals are responsible for his naughty behavior. Evidence of the antiquity of raven stories may be reflected in archaeological artifacts. A few pointed beak birds appear among stone or bone archaeological artifacts dating between 4,000 and 1,000 years ago. In Northwest Coast art design, raven is depicted with a pointed beak, while eagles have a curved beak. Raven stories were well developed among the Southeast Alaska natives when the earliest visitors to Southeast Alaska some 200 years ago heard the raven stories. The significance of raven is evident not only in the Tlingit, Haida, and Tsimshian oral traditions, but in their visual and performing arts as well. Natives are quick to point out that the raven is not a god, although he is credited with bringing many benefits to humanity through his deeds and more often his mischievous misdeeds. Raven enters a world that was already in existence, but through his actions, he rearranges or transforms the credited world. Raven, as culture, hero, and trickster, changed the physical features of animals and the landscape, but Raven as trickster satisfies his desires at the expense of others, which then results in change in the features of animals and the world. Raven stories continue to be popular among the Tlingit, Haida, and Tsimshian. The original stories are complex and humorous. Raven stories are not about what is viewed as proper behavior, but what is not acceptable behavior. I gotta let you know, I'm a raven. I want to talk a bit about Rico Worl. He has a goal to tell the story of Indigenous people today, the story that we are all still here. We have been here for at least 10,000 years, and we will be here for 10,000 more. Through his work, he represents our modern lifestyle, but grounded in traditional roots and values. I've known Rico all of his life, and it has warmed my heart to watch him grow into the artist that he is today. It's a daunting thing to depict one of our ancient stories through art, especially on national stage, but he did it, and he did it brilliantly. We are known for our monumental pieces such as totem poles, dugout canoes, house fronts, but Rico had to tell all of our origin story on the smallest canvas imaginable, a canvas that was less than an inch on the longest side. Rico, I say, you did good. You have told the nation that we are still here. You have depicted our ancient origin story in a new way, and you have made us all very, very proud. And thank you very much.
Marlene will be a hard act to follow. Thank you for joining me today for the release ceremony for the Raven Story Stamp. I'd like to thank the Sealaska Heritage Institute and the U.S. Postal Service for putting on this event. The Raven Story Stamp was designed by Juneau resident Tlingit artist Rico Lanáat Worl. The stamp merges traditional Northwest Coast artwork with modern design touches. Raven is a figure of great significance, as you all know, to the indigenous people of the Northwest Coast. Among the region's cultures, Raven plays an essential role in many traditional tales, including stories about the creation of the world. For the stamp, the artist depicted a moment just after Raven steals the sun, moon, and the stars. Worl's stamp shows Raven escaping from his human family and beginning to transform back into a bird form. In his design, Worl imagines that Raven is in a panicked state of escape, transforming from human form to raven form and trying to hold on to as many stars as he can while trying to escape. Antonio Alcala, who served as art director on the stamp project, reached out to Worl after creating the stamp after Alcala saw Worl's work for sale at the National Museum of the American Indian Gift Store in Washington, D.C. Artist Rico Worl is a Tlingit and Athabascan social designer and artist with training in anthropology. His work began with the development of the arts department at Sealaska Heritage Institute, implementing programs focused on developing fundamental skills, sorry, I should have taken this off so you could hear me better, and access to resources in order to empower the indigenous artists of Southeast Alaska. Worl's ongoing project Trickster Company carries forward his goals of empowering indigenous artists. Through his work, he endeavors to create indigenous resilience and cross-cultural connections. He hopes to break into a tourist market which profits millions of dollars from knockoff native artwork and represent the story of how indigenous people are not only here today, but engaged in modern lifestyles. Holding this release ceremony in Juneau is especially important as Juneau is artist Rico Worl's home, and also because Juneau is positioned to become the Northwest Northwest Coast art capital of the world, thanks to in a great part to Sealaska Heritage Institute. So Rico Lanáat, for your beautiful stamp, you've made Juneau very proud. Thank you.
We're fortunate to have some special guests in the audience. If you could please stand when I call your name. Dr. Rosita Worl, Kahani, President of Sealaska Heritage Institute, and grandmother of the stamp artist Rico Worl. Bill Thomas, Special Assistant for Southeast Alaska for Governor Dunleavy. Jim Thomas, Council of Traditional Scholars member. Alaska Representative Sarah Hannon, Juneau. And Alaska Senator Mia Costello, Anchorage. Cheesh for your support today. Now it's an honor to present our dedicating official from the United States Postal Service. Jacqueline Krage Strako is Chief Commerce and Business Solutions Officer and Executive Vice President. In this role, she leverages the Postal Service's processing, transportation, and last mile delivery networks to provide solutions for e-commerce customers, large and small. As you can imagine, it's a huge undertaking. The Postal Service provides a critical service to this country, and this was especially true during the pandemic, when it served as a lifeline to millions of Americans. The essential workers of the Postal Service delivered checks, medicines, and supplies to keep us going during a very difficult period, and they continue to do an incredible job for us every day. Everyone, please give a warm welcome to Jakki Krage Strako.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you first, Juneau, for hosting us. This is an amazing city. It's my first time here, and I will be back. Beautiful. So I'm thrilled to be here for the dedication of the Raven Story Forever stamp to help honor this important American cultural highlight. I'd first like to thank Marlene Johnson and everyone here at Sealaska Heritage Institute for hosting today's event and for making us feel so welcome. Thank you. I'd also like to thank Mayor Beth Weldon for her support today. I'd also like to recognize another special guest, Nathan Jackson. The distinctive Tlingit artist and leader of his clan. Images of Mr. Jackson wearing a raven dance mask and regalia inspired the Raven Dance commemorative stamp issued in 1996. So beautiful, beautiful stamp, so thank you. And thank to everybody for the great support and the great turnout today. It's great to see everybody. So when the Postal Service first announced the Raven story, we were actually going to do this unveiling last year. And with COVID, we delayed a year. I knew personally I had to be here for this event. It's a big fight at Postal Service headquarters of who gets to come to these events. And this was one I laid down the gauntlet with my peers, and I said I have to be here. It was in the early 90s, and I was in British Columbia and doing some touring, and bought a beautiful piece of indigenous modern art. A couple days later, I was in a little teeny community, and I saw an artist painting. And I thought, wow, that looks so similar to what I just purchased. Went up, talked to the gentleman, and he was the artist that I had purchased the painting from in British Columbia. And he and I got to talking. I bought 2 more pieces, so I have his collection hanging in my home, and I have a great passion for the art, so amazing, amazing. So I have great respect for the indigenous art and for the talents that I've just learned about. So I had to make sure I had to be here for this event a year later, and thrilled to be here. I couldn't really, say when I first saw the art what I felt, but I knew there was a connection, a deep, deep connection. And I know a lot of you here today feel that connection and have lived that connection. The Postal Service has a great, proud history of celebrating our nation's multifaceted heritage through our stamps. We truly have a world culture, and our stamps allow us to weave together the many threads of our national tapestry. Likewise, I'm proud to say the Postal Service workforce is one of the most diverse workforces in America. We are proud of our inclusive environment, which encourages the contributions of people from different cultures, backgrounds, and perspectives. That diversity is what makes us as an organization stronger, just as it makes this country stronger. The universe is made of stories, not atoms. That's a quote by poet Muriel Rukeyser. It recognizes the importance of storytelling in making sense of our world. Stories, those we tell each other, those we tell ourselves, convey the beliefs, values, and traditions that inform societies all over our world. They can tell us essential, higher truths on a symbolic level. The Raven Story stamp represents a story of great significance to the indigenous people of the Northwest Coast, the area that ranges from southeast Alaska through coastal British Columbia into Washington state. In the cultures of this region, the raven plays an essential role in many traditional tales, including stories about the creation of the world. The stamp artwork was inspired by the traditional story of the raven bringing light to the world by setting free the sun, moons, and stars. Artist Rico Lanáat, who will talk about his stamp design in a few minutes, created this stunning image of the raven by merging traditional artwork with modern design touches. Antonio Alcala served as the art director, and it sounds like a great partnership was formed. Now, Rico told me a funny story I just have to share. I said, how did it feel when you got the call? And I've asked a lot of stamp artists this before, and usually they think it's a prank call. Really, the Postal Service is calling me about a stamp. And so I think you Googled him to make sure he was a legit guy. So, it's a huge honor to be on a stamp, and well-deserved. So I think you'll agree the result of our collaboration was brilliant, and a simply stunning stamp as a result. You'll see the words forever and USA in gray lettering on the left edge of the stamp. This is our way of saying that the Raven stamp epitomizes the best of America and will always do so forever. So beginning today, the Raven Story stamp takes flight to millions of households and businesses across the nation. So at this time, it's time for the big reveal, everybody. So if you could come, please join me, and we will reveal and dedicate officially the stamp, the Raven stamp.
Guns Chish. Shanat aya Lukaax at Sati. Atwait. Dak aya Gachtutlech. Lukaax Adi. Lukaax da Choe Uhan. Lukaax da Choe Uhan. You actually kaya Gachtutlech. Asahatu Yaki. Daku got away with cook. Ya yes. Adata ya hatu yaki. Atlinken's cheese away. Ya kaya. I stay the cut you han showered and neki. The Lukaax Adi are going to dance out now. We are so happy. Trinat Rico Worl is Lukaax Adi. We are a clan that comes from a place called Lukaax. My uncles, our leaders, Yesh Yeti and Kin Kau Danik, are here with us, and Jackie Peda. Gunchi Shwe Johan, a Gachtus Ech Yayidat.
Need a
Gans cheese show it the cut Johan. Gans cheese. Yeah, that Lanáat Rico Worl, who designed the Raven Story artwork, will talk to us. Hade it koaha wasaha tu ikach Rico Worl.
Gans cheese. Lanáat hit duasak, Lukaax Katasse. Yesh hit ayachat. Shangukadi yadi ayachat. Just cat dach. I'm Rico Lanáat Worl. I'm of the Raven moiety. I'm from the Lukaax clan. I'm from the Chokat Kwan. I'm from my father's people, the Shangukadi, and I'm from my mother's people, the Degatan Athabaskan. There is a ceremony during Kuik where we embody our ancestors, and we say something along the lines of, "This is not me wearing this item, it is," and then we'll reference an ancestor. And this isn't really the right place to do that, but I do want to say that this isn't me presenting this artwork, but it is thousands of years of our people, the Tlingit people, and the people of the Pacific Northwest Coast work and hustle developing this art style. Most people here are aware that representing is a kind of major value for Tlingit culture. It's included in the way we do our introductions. It's included in the regalia we wear, and even the everyday clothes we wear sometimes. My sister Crystal and I have always worked hard to represent, and particularly through the Trickster company brand. And that's how this kind of all started, is in 2018, it was when Antonio had discovered our work. We had a few pieces in the gift shop at the National Museum of the American Indian in DC. And so he reached out to me and told me about it. And yeah, I was like, is this real? I had to Google search this guy and make sure I wasn't being tricked. There's tricksters around. But when I realized it was a real thing, I knew it was my responsibility to represent in the best way that I could. And so that's how I ended up choosing to use the Raven story. I felt like it's a good one that it carries a lot of our kind of core epistemologies and ideas from sharing with the world to loving our grandchildren to representing the balance that we maintain in our culture. So for the rest of the people in the world, I hope that they take this as an opportunity to learn. I'll be posting, you'll hear the story told here soon, and I'll also be posting a video, and the USPS will be posting a video, so people that are online, please find the story and hear it. So it was an honor to be able to represent on this national platform. I want to thank Antonia Alcala and all the people at the USPS who helped advocate for me to be able to represent in the best way that I could through the stamp medium. And I want to thank everyone in my family, my clan, my tribe, my communities. She'asa, Gunashish, Anabasi. Yeah.
Sheesh, Rico. Our next guest is Frank Henry Kaash Katasse. He's a distinguished actor, director, producer, and playwright, and a member of the Saagwe di Tlingit clan. He will come forth and read a raven story, Yesh Gashnik.
I'm sorry about that. Let's try that again. Hey, everybody. Way over there. You hear me okay? You see me okay? That's the important part. So there's a joke at things like this, at ceremonies, a good Tlingit joke, and I'm going to try to keep this brief. I was trying to keep it to 6 minutes. Okay. I tried. Get comfortable. Chalk. A long time ago. I don't think you believed that. Chalk away. A really long time ago. They buy that? I don't think so. I'll try that one more time. Chalk. Not good? It was that long ago. Actually, this story takes place kind of before time, since we measure time with the passing of the sun and the moon and the stars, so I guess this takes place before then. And when it takes place, it was completely dark. The world, Tlingit unei, was completely covered in darkness, black. And hopping along the beach, there was a white raven. Well, some say white, some say like translucent or even like invisible. Anyways, this raven's hopping along the beach, and he's bumping into all kinds of stuff. He's bumping into trees and rocks, and he's getting really frustrated, and he's getting really tired of this. And so that's where this story, this Shkashnik, takes place. This is Yesh Kake, raven in the box of daylight. So as I was saying, raven's hopping along, bumping in all kinds of things, then he hears some voices. And so he starts hopping closer and closer and closer. And he hears the voices really close, but it's complete darkness. And he stands up on a rock and he says, "Whoever's out there, bring me some of your food, or I'm going to break daylight upon you." And there's some fishermen pulling in their catch, and they said, "Okay." And they took their catch and they put it on a log right there. And whoosh, they hear something go by them and land on a different rock. And you hear chewing. It was raven chewing up their catch. And he goes, "What is this, wood?" And they go, "Yeah, wood. It's all we catch. Most of the time we catch wood." And raven goes, a little bit chewy. He says, "Well," the fishermen, they look up and they say, "If Nashakan Kau would give us some of his daylight, then maybe we'd have something else to catch." Raven says, "Nashakan Kau? Who is that?" They said, "Oh, he's a rich nobleman at the head of the Naas River. This person has all the wonderful wealth of the world within their longhouse. And if he has the box of daylight, and if he shared some of his daylight with us, then maybe we can catch something else besides driftwood." And in the darkness, those fishermen saw two eyes glow in the dark. And just like that, whoof, raven took off and bam, hit another rock. And he got back up, took off again in the darkness, hit a tree. And he's like, "All right, I'm going to go a little bit slower." And so he took off a little bit slower, and he went towards the Naas River. And he flew, and he hopped, and he flew, and then boom, he hit this longhouse at the head of the Nass River. He said, this must be it. This must be the place where Nashakankau lives. So Raven felt all around this house, this long house, and there was no door. He said, that's odd. But he could hear voices inside of this longhouse. So Raven flew up onto a tree, and he decided to wait. After a little while, Nashakankau's daughter comes out with her servants, and their servants go to a spring, a natural spring. You see, they do natural springs, not just any old river. It has to be a natural spring. And they collect some water in a cedar box. Nashakankau's daughter drinks it down. And Raven goes, I got an idea. And so the next day, he's waiting, and he sees the magic door open. Out come the servants and Nashakankau's daughter. And he turns himself into a down feather, and he floats down, 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 right on top of that water sitting in that cedar box. And the servants hand it to Nashakankau's daughter. She goes, ugh, there's down in here. And give it to the servant, and they throw it out. And he goes, ah. So Raven goes back up there, and he's sitting in the tree, and he goes, it'd be pretty nice if I was a spruce needle. And just like that, he turned into a spruce needle, and he flew down right into that cedar box full of water, right to the bottom, and hung on into the corner. Now Nashakankau's daughter saw something fall in there, thought it was a spruce needle. And so the servants handed her the box, and she's looking in there. And then her auntie goes, hey, you too good? Too good to drink from that box when there's a little spruce in there? It's good for you. It's medicine, you know. Nashakankau's daughter goes, I'll drink it. And drank it all down. She goes, it ain't going to kill you. Drinks it all down. And then that Raven, as that spruce needle gets stuck in her throat, and she starts coughing. And she goes, I said probably won't kill you. And then she walked off, hit her in the back once, and swallowed down that needle. That needle went into her stomach. And Raven's not very patient, so he started to grow into a baby. Very quickly, much to the surprise of Nashakankau and his daughter, and everyone else, I guess. And grew into a baby quicker and quicker. Within a couple of days, she was really pregnant. And so Nashakankau ordered the servants to go to one of the cedar boxes and pull out all the finest furs in the world. Da, Pushta, Sagadi, all these beautiful furs, and he lined them all in the ground. And Raven, he could see through, he knew what was going on. And he thought about those fishermen sitting on the beach, those humble, kind fishermen that were shivering out there, and he thought, no, I'm going to be like them, more humble. And so he refused to come out. And so that auntie that was there earlier, somehow she heard this telepathically from Raven. She said, that baby ain't coming out on these fine furs. Everyone grabbed some moss, so everyone was picking up moss from all around and setting it down, and Raven came out as a baby. And he started looking around really quickly. Where's this treasure? Where's this treasure? And then he saw 3 cedar boxes tied up, hanging from the ceiling of his longhouse. And his eyes glowed. And that auntie was looking at him. She said, eee, his bright eyes like a raven. And Raven looked at him and he's quiet, and started crying. And Nashakankau loved this baby with all his heart, and saw this lady made him cry, get out of here! Chased her off, and Raven goes, ah! And then leaned forward and sat up. Nashakankau said he's strong. Made him really proud. And then Raven, crawled. He says he's already crawling after a couple minutes. Crawled over, looked up at one of the boxes, and put up his arms and went, ah! And cried and cried. We've heard babies, right? They just cry and they cry. Ah! Ah! baby was crying and crying and crying. Wouldn't eat, wouldn't sleep, wouldn't drink anything. Just laid there, crying, 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 holding its hand up towards this box. Now Shakankawu comes up and he says, "Hey, grandson, Tlingit." No, grandson, that's Grandpa's treasures. It's not for you to just play with. You see these treasures? And then Shakankahu's daughter said, just give it to him. He goes, but you see, and then they didn't have lasers back then, but it was kind of like a laser. She looked at him straight through the fire, and the fire split open, and it shot right towards him. He goes, oh, you see, that was the Tlingit glare. She gave him a Tlingit glare that split the fire. And he goes, well, maybe you could just play with this one. And he pulls it down, hands it to Raven, and he starts smiling. He's playing with it, and he's rolling it around. Now Shakankahu and his daughter could finally sit back and rest, and they were happy. Yech was happy. And Yech waited till they looked away. And he opened it and pulled out the moon and shot the moon through the smoke hole. Shakankahu said, oh no, that's my treasure, that's my treasure. Raven knew that he was caught, and so he looked and he goes, hey! And Shakankahu and his daughter couldn't handle it anymore, and he was crying and crying and crying. And Raven looked back at the second box and cried even louder, ah! Ah! Oh man, it was too much. It was too much. Then Raven, only a few hours old still, stands up like a baby and reaches for that box. And Grandpa loved this baby with all his heart. And he saw that he was crying, and earlier that baby was happy. But he couldn't give up his treasures. But then his daughter said, that's your grandson. That's your grandson. He's happy when he has something to play with. So Shakankahu loved the sound of that laughter he heard earlier, and he hands the baby the second box and says, don't pull this lid off. Be very careful. And then he hands it back, he puts it back up there. And Raven starts crying again, oh! And then Raven looks up and he goes, please? And that just melted Shakankahu's heart. You go, okay. And he hands it to him, and Raven's happy, and he's kind of walking around like a newborn baby, getting a little bit stronger and stronger. And then they turn around, he shakes up that box, and something in there cracks. Breaks up. And he's, oh, careful. And he goes, huh? Opens it up, and whoosh. Millions and millions of stars lit up that room. Everyone covered their eyes except for Raven, whose eyes grew only brighter. And he goes, whoo. And like a feather in the wind, all of these stars flew out the smoke hole and into the sky. Miles away, those fishermen, they saw it. They saw their sky fill up with millions and millions of stars pouring into the darkness, and they held each other's hands. And they smiled and held each other closer. So back inside this longhouse, Raven knew he was in trouble for that one. So he decided to scream even louder and stomp. Boom, 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 and the house shook. And all Tlingit shook. Everything shook. It sounded like drums coming from this longhouse. Boom, 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 boom. And he's going, ah! So now Shakankahu takes some spruce pitch and puts it in his ears, and he's like, oh, okay, that's a little bit better. And his daughter takes some pitch and she puts it in her ears, and Raven's crying, and he's grown now. He's like a teenager. He's jumping up and touching all the tops of all the doors in the longhouse. And they go, Mom, I want that box. She goes, you can't. Why would you want you wouldn't understand, Mom. Anyways. And so they have this pitch in their ears, and nothing's working, so Raven's getting a little bit, he can't quite reach up and grab it yet. And And so Nashakan Kawu and his daughter, they start to get tired because they can't hear him screaming now. So this makes that white raven mad. And poof, he turns himself back into a bird. He flies up and he rips open the top of that box, and he grabs the contents that are inside and pulls it up. And it's the sun, and it lights up the whole longhouse. Now Shachan Kau knew something was up, but he still loved that baby. He just didn't want to lose his treasure, and he didn't want to lose his grandbaby. And so he took the pitch out of his ears and he threw it into the fire and filled the whole place up with smoke to try to block out the sun. Raven knew that smoke hole was there, and he was used to traveling into the darkness, used to bumping into things if he had to, and he flew up, boom, hit his head on the top of the longhouse and found that hole and tried to come out. And now Shachan Kawu closed that smoke hole on him, and that smoke started pouring out all around him and turned this white, translucent, almost invisible bird into the black, beautiful bird it is today. Raven squeezed himself out and admired himself in the light, and he flew towards those fishermen that he saw earlier. He came over to the horizon. He broke that daylight upon all the fishermen sitting on the bay there. Some of the fishermen jumped up into the air, and they turned into the animals that we see flying into the sky. Some of the fishermen there, they dove into the water, and they became the animals of the water, the tsa, the tan, the cheech. And some of them, they ran into the forest. They turned and they ran away. They became the Janwu, the Guakan, the Tzik. But some of those people, some of them were still holding each other's hands. And even though they were scared, they stayed there as Raven broke the light upon them. And those became the Tlingit, the people of the tides. And they threw out some of their fishing line. They brought in a big fish, and they threw it to Raven, who ate it up really quick. And then Raven turned around, admired everything that was created in front. He could see everything. Said, I'm not going to hit any more trees or rocks when I fly. And then he went about his day, just hopping along the beach. Hucha, kunas cheese.
Tlingit Plain. Thank you, Kaash, for that wonderful retelling of a 6-minute Raven story. Lukaax. I stole his script earlier, but they asked me to take it out of his pocket for a picture. He's like, where's my script? I said, oh, it's over there. He took it out of your pocket. I was in New York just a couple weeks ago. I was like, I learned a few things in New York. And so now he just took mine, so we're even. Give you that later. Kaskawu. Kaidihina ka. Was kleinach ka yuk e watan. Ka wakshiyik. Chuaya hit gasi aya. Shout to Zanuk. Dukani yan koa. Hutsu yuk e watan. Hit ka ye ausane du yuk a tungitin. Cyril George one time told us, when a person stands up and speaks in public, it's as if their words are raising the house posts. And when their opposites come and speak after them and respond, it's like somebody puts a roof on that house. Lukaax adir sati Lanáat. The ish has ka shangu kedi. And I remember sitting there and I was listening to Cyril George speak, and Nora Downhauer was right behind me, and she was saying, it's poetry, the things that he was talking about. This is how our Tlingit culture is. We keep things balanced. So we'll have a response from Rico Worl of the Shangukedi. Yitqua Chish.
Gnas chish, anyat gusani. We're going to have our Shangukedi clan members come and stand by us. Gachquena yuchat tuasak. Lukaax yadi ayachat. Kauli yayi hit ayachat. My name is Gachquena. I'm a member of the Shangukedi clan, the Thunderbirds, and as Hune Lance explained, the significance of one of our core cultural values, Uchiach, that demands social and spiritual balance. And so we, the Shangukedi, are here to acknowledge, to bring this balance and reciprocity and validation of our Lukaax people, my father's people, our grandchildren. We have this close relationship, and so it is appropriate for the Thunderbirds to witness and validate and bring balance to this ceremony. Gunas Chish to the U.S. Postal Service for the wisdom of selecting an Alaska Native, a Tlingit, to represent on the stamp. And Gunas Chish for your courage, and Jacqueline for your words about including Indigenous people in the U.S. Postal Service and in our stamps. But most of all, Gunas Chish to the U.S. Postal Service for serving our communities that are not connected by road, bringing essential items through rain, taku winds, slush. Gunas Chish. And to Lanáat, my nephew, Rico, Gunas Chish, for your interpretation of this ancient story. It brings light to our culture and our art. And it's important to understand that art is who we are. It's embedded in our culture. It identifies who we are. We see our ancestors. And so it is fitting that we are here months away from the completion of the Sealaska Heritage Arts Campus, which will enhance and perpetuate our art, just as Rico had talked about one of his goals is. It is as if Raven is flying back to bring us daylight once again. Gunas Chish. I think we're going to sing national anthem. Yeah, we're going to stay here.
Etwasa kakwati. Etwasa. Gunas Chish. Ya yidat we. Qachtishi we kegachtishi. Lukaax ayat ade and the tiqa to a sock. Chakadach away, a kautlishi away. Antiquity. We're going to sing a song that was composed long ago by someone named Antiquity. The song is called Chadeye Natiqa. It has a long and complex history. We will not be singing the entirety of the song. It's a cry song for the Lukaax. we have some work remaining to do with some of our folks who have passed on. So we'll be singing a portion of this, and this will conclude the cultural portion of today's presentation.
I just wanted, the reason why we chose this song, even though it was a cry song, the significance, it's a very powerful song for our clan, but it just goes so well with the story you heard in the stamp, because this song says, "Lest it not be forgotten, our words, our voices on our grandfather land. Pray for your raven." And it just seems to me that at this time and this place, it's just so significant that this song be sung and those words be shared across the nations. Gunas Chish.
Chish, Christine. Gunchish Chawe. I want to recognize a few other folks here before we wrap things up. Beverly Dementa, Rico Worl's mother. Kinkau Danique, Paul Marks, Senior Council of Traditional Scholars member. Andy Bona, Alaska Native Brotherhood. And Sally Smith, former Juneau mayor. I'd also like to say Gunachish to the Ravens who were providing some wonderful sound effects and talking to us during the speeches. Gunachish, before we go, I would like to thank Jakki Krage Strako and the United States Postal Service, Marlene Johnson and the Sealaska Heritage Institute, the Honorable Beth Weldon, Rico Worl, Rosita Worl, Frank Henry Kaash Katasse, the Shungakadi Eagle Clan, the Lukaax Raven Clan, Madeline Sobolov Levy, and the Southeast Alaska Native Veterans Color Guard. A quick reminder, you can get your Raven Story stamps and other items at the Postal Service's retail booth, and our participants will also be available there to autograph your programs and other items. Thank you all for your attention, for being here on this wonderful sunny morning and afternoon. Yewe yanshu watanyata, gonna cheese, shik echa.